It started with receipts. I was sitting at the kitchen table sorting through expenses for tax season. Nothing dramatic, just numbers and silence. He was supposed to be gone for the weekend. "A little space," he'd said. "A few quiet days upstate to clear my head." "My name's Rachel, 34, freelance interior designer. I spend most of my time arranging rooms so people can breathe easier in them." It's ironic. I build calm for strangers while suffocating in my own home. Tom's 36, works in tech, burnt out, allegedly. He calls himself emotionally exhausted, says the city's too loud, says I'm too quiet. I told him a break sounded healthy. I even helped him pack. Folded shirts, chargers, toothbrush, the same rituals that make absence look temporary. He kissed my forehead before leaving, said, "Don't worry, I just need some air." I believed him. I always do. The weekend stretched longer than usual. The apartment felt clean but hollow, like a showroom with no story left in it. That night, while organizing his receipts for reimbursement, I saw one dated that morning. Gas station, coffee, 2 sandwiches, 2. I stared at it until the ink blurred, trying to convince myself it didn't mean anything. I used to believe love just needed air to breathe. Turns out, space is just another word for distance. I wanted to be the kind of woman who respected space, until space started charging by the night. Before you judge me, understand this. Tom wasn't cruel. He was careful. Our relationship was never loud. No fights that shattered plates or slammed doors. Just soft routines. Shared coffee, true crime podcasts, playlists that lasted longer than conversations. He used to hum when he worked. Tiny sounds of contentment that filled the apartment. Lately, the silence between us had grown, but not in a hostile way. More like static you learn to live with. He'd been talking about burnout for months. Too many deadlines, too many screens. He mentioned therapy, meditation, the idea of disappearing for a weekend just to reset. And I said yes, because that's what you say when you love someone who's fraying at the edges. You don't pull tighter. You let them unravel a little. He promised it wasn't about us. "Just need quiet," he said. I told him to find it, thinking he'd come back lighter, softer, maybe even thankful. It wasn't trust that made me believe him. It was logic. I'm pragmatic. I understand emotional fatigue, the way people need distance from their own reflection. Besides, good people get tired too. I thought giving him space made me evolved. That love was about not holding on too tightly. Turns out, it just made me invisible. The first night he was gone, I left the window open so the apartment could breathe. By the second night, it didn't feel like air anymore. Just absence, expanding quietly between walls. Love makes you patient. But patience turns you into background noise. We met in a co-working space 3 years ago, a room full of caffeine and ambition. I liked his focus. He liked my stillness. He was the kind of man who thrived in motion. Spreadsheets open, phone buzzing, always building something. I was the opposite. Slow mornings, soft playlists, quiet corners. Somehow, our rhythms overlapped. A year later, we moved in together. No grand gestures, no fireworks. Just an unspoken agreement that calm was better than chaos. Our version of intimacy was quiet. Sunday cooking, long drives with no destination, reading on opposite sides of the couch, the kind of silence that feels safe until it isn't. We used to brag about it, how we never fought, how dramatic couples burned out while we stayed steady, as if stillness was proof of strength. But silence has a sneaky way of changing shape. It stops being peace and starts being distance. When his burnout worsened, I adapted like furniture, rearranging my schedule, lowering my volume, waiting for him to return to himself. He never did. Just grew quieter, harder to read, harder to reach. I told myself this was maturity, that calm love was sustainable love. But somewhere along the way, our relationship became ergonomic, designed for comfort, not connection. Everything fit perfectly, until I realized I'd built a home around someone who'd already left the room. It started quietly, the kind of change you can almost miss if you're polite enough. He began sleeping on the couch, said it helped him focus. "Your typing keeps me up," he said one night, smiling already halfway down the hallway. I didn't argue. I'm used to compromise. to rearranging my comfort for someone else's peace. He stopped texting me during the day. No "how's work?" No emojis, no small talk. I assumed he was buried in deadlines, not distance. When someone starts fading, I told myself, don't chase, give them room. So when he said he wanted to book an Airbnb for a few days, to clear my head, without distractions, I didn't flinch. I nodded, even offered to join him for a night. He shook his head, soft but firm. "It's not about us," he said, and somehow that made it worse. He started packing that same evening, methodical, like he'd done it before. I watched him fold shirts, unplug chargers, gather his notebooks. It didn't look impulsive. It looked practiced. Then came the smallest betrayal, the one no one else would notice. Before leaving, he kissed my forehead. Gentle, familiar, but the word he used broke me. "Take care, kiddo." He hadn't called me that in years. It wasn't affectionate. It was a farewell in disguise. The tone had changed. Kind, deliberate, like a teacher thanking a student at graduation. He grabbed his bag, smiled that tired smile I'd learned to forgive, and left the apartment filled with everything we'd built. Our books, our couch, our half-open lives. I stood there for a while, staring at the door, waiting for silence to settle. I thought space was temporary. I didn't know it came furnished. He'd been gone for 3 days. I filled the silence the only way I knew how, by rearranging things. Moved the couch closer to the window, folded laundry that didn't need folding, watered plants that were already wet. It wasn't waiting. It was pretending not to. On the third night, I sat at my desk to do something familiar. My taxes. Something rational, measurable. While sorting through our shared expenses, I saw the subject line pop up in my inbox. Airbnb booking confirmation. At first, I assumed it was mine. A duplicate, maybe. We'd shared logins for years. Then I opened it. Romantic getaway for 2. Anniversary package, wine and roses included. My name wasn't there. His was, and hers. I didn't even need to read it to know. The name wasn't visible, but the booking email came from his account, accidentally forwarded. Same credit card, same tone, that polite efficiency he always used when planning our trips. It wasn't even far. Just 2 hours away, the same coastal town where we used to celebrate our anniversary. Same boutique Airbnb, same description. I didn't cry. Not immediately. I just read it twice, like proof I already half expected to find. I kept thinking how deliberate it all felt. The way he repurposed everything. Our rituals, our language. He called it space, reflection, healing. All the words I'd once used to explain patience. He'd taken my vocabulary of care and used it to narrate his escape. I dialed his number once, watched the screen blink, then deleted the call before it connected. Not because I didn't want to hear his voice, but because I already knew how it would sound. Calm, rational, apologetic in the way that protects the speaker, not the listener. There's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't explode. It just settles in, quietly, like dust, like knowing. I closed my laptop, sat in the dark, and listened to the hum of the refrigerator. A sound so ordinary, it almost felt like mercy. People think heartbreak sounds like breaking glass. It doesn't. It's paper, the soft rip of a receipt that was never meant for you. He came back on a Sunday. No warning, no apology, just the sound of keys in the door and his voice saying, "Hey." He looked lighter, tanned, rested, wearing a shirt I'd never seen before, smelling faintly of new detergent. Not ours. He dropped his bag in the hallway, smiled like we'd had a small argument instead of an unspoken collapse. "I think I figured some things out," he said. I didn't ask what. I just nodded, made tea, and watched him talk about balance and gratitude like he'd spent 3 days at a silent retreat instead of a rented bed. He was kind. Too kind. The kind of gentle that comes from guilt, not growth. He asked about my work, offered to cook dinner, touched my shoulder like it was fragile. I listened. But it felt like sitting in on someone else's performance review. Polite, hollow, rehearsed. For 3 days, I said nothing. I just observed. The way he avoided eye contact when I mentioned weekends. The way he closed his laptop faster than before. The way silence had returned, but heavier this time. On the fourth night, I broke it. We were washing dishes, water running, plates clinking. I said, "Was she worth the clarity?" He froze. Didn't ask who. Didn't even pretend to misunderstand. "It's not what you think," he said. "Then what is it?" I asked. He dried his hands slowly, carefully. A man preparing a script. But the script wasn't ready. He just looked at me and said, "I booked that place months ago. For us." I waited. "I didn't cancel," he continued. "I just took someone else. No raised voices, no drama, just truth laid out with surgical precision. Clean, deliberate, cruel. I think I would have preferred a lie, because the truth was too symmetrical, too neat. He hadn't just betrayed me, he'd recycled me. Every memory reused, every word repurposed. Our space, our retreat, our healing, all reissued under new management. I didn't cry. I just felt the air go thin. "You could have told me," I said quietly, "before you packed my trust with your luggage." He didn't respond, just nodded, like an employee acknowledging feedback. That night, he left again. No bag this time, just his phone and his car keys. He didn't say how long he'd be gone. I didn't ask. The apartment felt bigger once he was gone. Not cleaner, just emptier. Like the air itself had expanded to fill the space he used to take up. I didn't move his things. Didn't box them, didn't fold them, didn't touch them. I just started sleeping on my side of the bed again, the one that still smelled like detergent and hesitation. Friends texted, called, offered dinners and distractions. I said no, not because I was sad, but because I was tired of performing recovery. I wasn't grieving him. I was grieving my own restraint, the months I'd mistaken silence for strength, patience for partnership. I started journaling at first to make sense of it, but soon the words became filler, something to occupy the noise he left behind. I deleted the Airbnb email one afternoon, like deleting proof could erase what it proved. But the image of the cottage stayed with me. The pale curtains, the way sunlight probably slid across the same windows I'd once chosen for us. That was the cruelest part. He didn't replace me with another person. He replaced me with freedom. The kind of freedom that only feels good when it's stolen. I used to envy how easily he could disappear into stillness. Now I understood it wasn't peace he wanted. It was distance without consequence. Weeks passed. One morning, my phone lit up with his name. A single text. "Hope you're doing okay." For a second, I typed, "I am," then deleted it. He didn't deserve even that illusion. I set the phone down and watched dust float in the morning light. That's when it hit me. Not the pain, not the anger, but the simplicity of it all. Some people leave once, others just keep fading. Months later, I was designing a living room for a new client, a single mother, recently divorced. She handed me the brief and said softly, "Make it feel like someone used to love here." I paused, pencil hovering over the page. "I know exactly what that looks like," I told her. Because I did. It looks like warmth that doesn't quite reach the corners. Like light that feels borrowed. Like furniture arranged to hide what's missing. As I sketched, I thought about that Airbnb, about the cottage I never saw but could picture perfectly. 2 wine glasses, folded towels, space that pretended to be healing. He said he needed space to clear his head. But the Airbnb receipt said romantic getaway for 2. I didn't lose him to another woman. I lost him to his excuses. He wanted room to breathe. I just didn't realize he meant without me in it. Now I fill rooms for other people. Chairs that face each other. Windows that let in light. I give them what I couldn't save for myself. The silence in my apartment still lingers, but it's different now. Not peace, not pain, just air. Maybe that's all space ever really is. The distance between what we thought love was and what it actually turned out to be. And somehow, I'm still here. Still designing places for people to live in, even after someone turned mine into an exit. Some spaces are meant for healing, others for remembering how to breathe again.